What's up? I'm back. It's gonna be a short segment. I would say recently, within the last 2 3 months, I had a person hit up all three of my YouTube channels, asking me first. It was asking me about chakras, right? So it was asking me if chakras are real. I never responded per se because I get a lot of email, and I always tell people, listen, if you want me to respond quick, probably hit my website up, and even then, it's gonna take a while for me to get back to you, right? So when you act overzealous, that actually doesn't make it better. I actually say, well, I'll get to you when I get to you. So, but it's cool. I was gonna get to the person, but I guess when I didn't um, answer right away, it's turned. This is from what I suspected anyway. When I saw the person's energy, and I kind of felt what they was really asking me. They weren't really asking me a question. They were making a statement. So at first it was, is chakras real? But then it wasn't a question anymore. It was a statement. And the statement was chakras not real. You don't need them to astral travel. Now, if anyone, and this is not the person's fault, right? Because I guess from a lot of my older information, I always spoke about a lot of abstract topics. But if you look at, like, if you understand why people are complaining, right? And I've kind of went away from that abstractness, right? And talked about more grounded topics. You would realize, even if that was the case, which is not, right? Which I'm going to get to right now. Even if that was the case, and you don't need them to astral travel, right? They're not real. Here's the problem with that. I am coming from a much more grounded approach now. So the first thing I would actually ask the person is, why do you want to astral travel? Is everything else around you? First of all, what is the astral? That's the first thing. Like, a lot of people talk about astral travel, right? And I like to say the astral plane is more like the universe, or you could say the inner planes. So when you use the word astral, you're thinking something totally far removed from you, instead of understanding that the astral light is basically, it's unique because it can be further away from you than the furthest star, and it can be closer to you than the nearest person living next to you. Like, it's strange like that, because it makes up all things, so it's everywhere. But then it's far away at the same time, because depending on your understanding of it, you wouldn't be able to access it in its raw form. So the thing is, forget about astral travel being dangerous and this and that and all this type of things. The problem with the spiritual world is that it's too in space. That's the problem, in my opinion. Everyone is focused on things that they almost like, it's almost in a sense, they like to jump, they like to skip, the line, right? So they don't really know how to meditate well. Yoga is not something they do. They might have. I give the spiritual world that their health is pretty tight. The spiritual and the health communities are kind of intertwined. So the health game is okay. I shouldn't say tight. It's okay, but everyone wants to jump and skip, right? So most people don't even know what the astral plane really is, the first place. But then they want to go and travel it. So that's neither here nor there. But at the end of the day, this is what it comes down to. I don't talk bad about lineages that are thousands of years old. When people talk about chakras, they're talking about it from the Indian perspective. And you talk about a culture, a spiritual system that's thousands of years old. People could look at it now and try to punch holes through it and try to disrespect it, because we're in an age of information. Everyone's trying to outdo everyone. Because what it really is, when the person says when a teacher comes and says you don't need chakras to astral travel, a lot of teachers now are into rushing information and presenting it in such a way that it's quicker than everyone else, so that you get more hits. So it's almost like people are in a chess game of everyone trying to get this unique type of information faster than the next person, just to get more hits. But it's not practical at the end of the day, because number one, I don't disrespect lineages that are thousands of years old. Is it outdated? I wouldn't even say it's outdated. Their system of 7 chakras works for what they're trying to do. The Indian system is trying to help this person achieve, I guess you could say, unity with what we know of as the 7th dimension, high mental plane. Some people perceive that as ascension. That's what that spiritual system is trying to do. Whether they have different types of yogas, some yogas based on posture, some yogas actually based on philosophy of studying information, some yoga based on movement, some yoga based on color, some yoga based on manipulation of breath. They all go back to the same they all come back to the same goal. They want to help a person achieve oneness with the seventh dimension. And when the person dies, the person can instantly go there, right? Where everyone, even when you're alive, is kind of connected to it, but not as much as we should. So when we die, our energetic bodies are in a state of chaos, and we actually end up staying in a lower plane. And again, this is a spiritual topic, so I'm not going to go too deep in it, right? But that's what that Indian system is trying to achieve. So when somebody says chakras are not real, I could tell. Now it's not the person asking me per se, but maybe the person who he got it from. You know, you're kind of like the person. When people come up with this type of stuff, they're just trying to race to get information faster than the next person. Do they even understand what a chakra is? Because I know some people would eventually get to decode every cell in your body is a kind of a mini chakra. That's what people don't realize. When somebody says it's not real, the only thing they're actually hitting on is that chakras are much, like your energy points are much more than your seven chakras. Your seven chakras are the center of the energy points in your body, but every cell is energy, to be honest. And every cell is like a battery in your body. You got trillions of them, maybe more. I mean, you know, hundreds of trillions. I don't even know how to count once you get past the hundreds of trillions, right? But you have much more. So when someone says it's false, they're saying it's false because for two things. This is the only two things I can see why they're saying it. And it's wrong, but I can see why they're saying it. You have other energy batteries on your body that you can access, number one. And number two, if you really understood how the astral plane is, astral projecting, where you're just shooting out your mental body, you know, you're projecting it out through your crown. Oh, well, actually, that's what you do when you die. When you're astral traveling, you probably should project it from your lower chakras. But again, I'm not going too deep in the spiritual topic. That's only one way to travel, if this makes sense. Once you understand that the inner planes everywhere, I mean, you could basically just tie yourself to a point, and you don't have to. It's almost like teleporting instead of traveling, instead of flying or projecting. So they have to be coming from one of those two perspectives. But my point is, too many people in the spiritual community are into this fast food type of fluff, where they criticize things without understanding what's the point. Like some spiritual systems are different. Some spiritual systems are trying to integrate you to Mother Nature. Some spiritual systems are trying to understand the mind, which I guess you could say the Indian Eastern system would be trying to do that too, because the high mental plane is the mind, right? It's the deepest realms of the mind, in a sense. It's beyond the physical brain, but your mind, your brain, and really your mind, which is not even physical. Your brain is physical, your mind is not. Accesses that. It's like a copy of that. That's the difference. So, are the chakras real? Yeah, they're real. Are they more to it? Of course it is. Should you be trying to astral travel and you don't even have the basics right? Definitely not. So am I going to be an enabler and break that down? No, I'm not. At the end of the day, there's a lot of things that you should be thinking about before you start astral traveling, to be honest. And if your knowledge of biology ain't tight, which I know for most people it's not, criticizing the chakras and trying to go to alternatives of why the chakras are false, you could do it, but it's a counterproductive way of doing things. And that's the primary reason why I stopped doing spiritual videos. And if somebody has a question, I say, listen, go to an established source. Because I'm not into this, you know, this post 2014 or 2010 type of YouTube info disrespecting the ancient knowledge and coming up with alternatives and things that are just counterproductive and not going to work. So, till next time. Peace.